one of the things that we have to be very careful about, I've talked about this on the show before, we cannot condone premarital sex, getting pregnant before you're married, all these other things. But if we continue to go out here and tell people that a girl getting pregnant at 15 years old is the end of the world,
right,
then we're creating the situation where she goes to the abortion clinic.
Mark, let me share something
It is
with
not
you.
the end of the world.
In San Diego, Pastor Leo Giovanetti, huge church. I'm in his church on Sunday. He stands up and he's preaching a sermon. He says, you know what the worst thing to happen to a pastor? His daughter get pregnant.
Right.
And I rebuked him after that service. I said, that is the most insane thing.
Does he have a daughter?
I think he does.
He's telling her to have an abortion.
He's driving her. You are driving her to the abortion clinic right now.
Some of these Christian schools should just have shuttle buses to Planned Parenthood because they say if you get pregnant out of wedlock, you are to leave school. That's telling the woman, look at the Palin debate and look what's going on right now
How
with
about the
Letterman.
Christian schools teach abstinence and say, look, this is
do.
what you
Most
do,
of them
and
do.
this
To
is
credit, a lot of them
this
do.
is what happens.
But they
then
fail
we need to help.
to tell people what happens when you make that mistake because they don't want to look like they're condoning the actions, so they forget to tell people and they do not acknowledge it. It's the same thing happened to
The day that I
Palin
met
debate.
Cherie, this issue came up. I was doing a speech for Christ for the Nations here in Dallas, a college that's supposedly hardcore pro-life. They go to all the pro-life events and all this. I can't remember.
Had you do a seminar there?
Yeah, they had me do a pro-life seminar there all day. At lunch, I went to lunch with the guy who had actually arranged for me to be there, and I think he was the dean of students, if I'm not mistaken. And Cherie was one of the people who went to the thing. That's how I stumbled across her. Anyway, yeah. At lunch, he happened to bring up that Christ for the Nations had this policy that a pregnant girl could not go to class.
Exactly.
And I said, wait a minute. You're saying that a girl, if you found a girl's pregnant, she can't go to class. He said she can't go to her next class. He says if we find out about it in the middle of the day, we send a runner to the class and take her out, clean up her locker, and she's out. And I said,
that's insane.
I said, have you lost your mind? I said, do you know what and he and I got in an argument, and I almost didn't do the second half of the
But if she gets an abortion?
They'll never know about it. And let me tell you.
Palin, they told her, Bill Maher last night, I was watching Politically Incorrect, they said, it's her fault. Letterman's making fun of her because she came out and said, abstinence is probably the best method. She should have just gone away. They should have just hid her.
Hid her off
No,
somewhere.
they did the right thing. They came out and said, she made a mistake, she's pregnant, she's keeping the baby. They didn't hide her away.
Right.
And that's what this liberal, this secular progressive who's supposedly enlightened and for premarital sex is saying, just hide the girl away because she's an embarrassment.
Or if she got an abortion, everything will be
That's
okay.
what Christian schools are doing because they feel like a pregnant girl is an embarrassment to their
Well, that's
school.
what this guy said. He said, we can't have pregnant girls walking up and down the hallway. And I said, okay, now let me ask you this. Because I was hot, and I was really hot with this guy. I said, let me ask you this. Why are you kicking her out? Well, she's engaged in premarital sex. Okay, what if it's a boy that got her pregnant that's in the school? Do you kick him out? His response was, no, we bring him in and counsel with him. But she's got to go.
Because she has the evidence there.
Right.
She is pregnant.
I
she
said,
has the evidence.
I said, so what you're saying then is,
that's
it's not the
exactly why.
it's not the premarital sex that's the problem. It's the baby that's the problem.
Right.
It's the evidence of it that's the problem. So I said, you're driving Christ for the Nations girls to Rue Street Abortion Clinic. So when somebody like Charlotte Taft, who runs Rue Street Abortion Clinic, comes on a local radio station and I'm there debating with her, and she says, look, we get girls from these hardcore pro-life Christian schools in our abortion clinic every day. Do you know what position that puts me in when I know for a fact that she's telling the truth?
That's right.
How do we debate with these people? But anyway, this is a subject that's real close to me. I just...
What would have become of my life if you hadn't come back to that seminar?
Oh, Lord, who knows? How about my life?
It's an enraging thing that we're dealing with every day on the college campuses.
And we've got to... We can take a position that this is not a good thing to happen without taking the position that it's the end of the world.
We're being hypocrites.
Yes.
We're not supporting and loving that woman after she's made that mistake. We're not supporting her.
Well, and what we're saying is, again, we're not saying that the premarital sex is the problem. We're saying that the baby's the problem. And I brought this up to the Sunday school class right after this happened because I got in an argument and these people saying, well, I understand their position saying we can't have pregnant girls going up and down the hallways of a Christian school. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how many of you in this room would be very upset to find out that your daughter was pregnant? Oh, every hand of everybody that had a daughter shot up in the air. Okay, now how many of you would be just as upset if you found out she was having sex, but she wasn't pregnant? And they're all looking at me like, well, yeah, I wouldn't be happy. So what you're saying is the same thing that the Christ for the Nation is saying. The problem is the baby.
Right.
And that's the attitude this culture has adopted, so we kill 3,300 of them a day. And that's the reason right there. That's the very reason.
Sometimes if you see a parent, a mother taking a daughter into an abortion facility, it's because the mother is embarrassed.
Or the father. Right, exactly. That's exactly right.